Good morning, Mount Vernon. Good morning to the virtual Mount Vernon. I am Lauren, and I am so pleased to be giving this word today out of the book of James. Today we're going to be talking about two types of wisdom, and if you turn to me, it'll be in the book of James, and I'm going to read from the NIV version. If you see my shirt, it says NIV me please. LaShonda Hilton, she designed this for me. I had a vision for a shirt and I wanted to wear it this Sunday, and she made my vision come alive. So shout out to her. Make sure you get all your design shirts from her, because this is amazing. So if you turn to me today in the book of James, chapter 3, verses 13 through 18, I'm going to read those verses first. And then if you join with me after, I'll be reading chapter 5, verses 7 through 12. NIV version. Who is wise and understanding among you? Let them show it by their good life, by deeds done in the humility that comes from wisdom. But if you harbor bitter envy and selfish ambition in your hearts, do not boast about it or deny the truth. Such wisdom does not come down from heaven, but is earthly, unspiritual, demonic. For where you have envy and selfish ambition, there you find disorder in every evil practice. But the wisdom that comes from heaven is first of all pure, then peace-loving, considerate, submissive, full of mercy and good fruit, impartial and sincere. Peacemakers who sow in peace reap a harvest of righteousness. Then I'm also going to read chapter 5, verses 7 through 12. Be patient, then, brothers and sisters, until the Lord's coming. See how the farmer waits for the land to yield its valuable crop, patiently waiting for the autumn and spring rains. You too be patient and stand firm, because the Lord's coming is near. Don't grumble against one another, brothers and sisters, or you will be judged. The judge is standing at the door. Brothers and sisters, as an example of patience in the face of suffering, take the prophets who spoke in the name of the Lord. As you know, we count as blessed those who have persevered. You have heard of Job's perseverance and have seen what the Lord finally brought about. The Lord is full of compassion and mercy. Above all, my brothers and sisters, do not swear, not by heaven or by earth, or by anything else. All you need to say is a simple yes or no. Otherwise, you will be condemned. So we all know the book of James is about the book of application. And so when I first read the book of James, 5 chapters, I noticed right away that he was straightforward, honest, blunt. And so when I started to read it, it was just like, I felt like he was kind of cutting into me specifically, because he basically just exposed Christians and how we should live. So, getting back into the word, let's first explain the main difference of these two kinds of wisdoms: spiritual wisdom and worldly wisdom. First, we have our spiritual wisdom. As discussed by James, we have many positive definitions, and I'll read them off for you. For spiritual wisdom, first, we should always know that it comes down from heaven. Spiritual wisdom is pure, it's peace-filled, peace-loving, it is considerate, very submissive, merciful, impartial, equal, and sincere for all, and it reaps good fruit. With that being said, let's discuss this worldly wisdom. Instead of the wisdom coming down from heaven like spiritual wisdom, it does not come from heaven. Instead of it being pure, it is more earthly. Instead of it being peace-filled and peace-loving, it is very demonic and unspiritual. And instead of it being equal for all and merciful, it is full of envy and selfish ambition. And lastly, instead of reaping good fruit like spiritual wisdom, the worldly wisdom turns into evil practice. So we all want to hear God, right? And we all want to have this stronger connection with Him. I'm here to tell you, in order to receive this much-needed spiritual wisdom, you need to take a worldly detox. I'll say that one more time because worldly detox is my favorite theme. In order to get this much-needed spiritual wisdom, you need a worldly detox. Now, we can all talk about a dietary cleanse or a slimming tea and a detox to lose weight and eating the healthy foods, etc., etc. But what about for our spiritual and mental health? What about for our soul? Once again, this would be a worldly detox. When I think of a worldly detox, for me, I encountered, and I still am today, different things in my culture that is very worldly and earthly. And a while after this pandemic started, beginning my journey, getting closer to God, I noticed that a lot of normalized things in my culture was upsetting my spirit, kind of like an upset stomach. Give you an example while here? Of course. I thought you'd never ask. For me, the toxicness, which is a new word, I don't know if it's in the dictionary, but we all know toxic, so I'm adding toxicness. You can take that home with you. This toxicness derives from our generation's implemented aspects of what our lives are supposed to look like through others or what others are doing. I'll break that down in simpler terms and the plain terms for those that are confused. Examples could be celebrities, social media, influencers, TV, and most of all, our rap music. I am 19 years old, and ever since I can remember, my generation has built up Instagram and Snapchat and Twitter to the fame that it is now. Celebrities have always been a big part of our culture since back in the day, but I feel like more now, our generation is so caught up with our celebrities and all the drama and such like that. Us humans, we get so caught up with following with what the next person has done, and that we forget, most importantly, the important thing of someone, which is their character, their morals, their personality. And this is what James is talking about in the first verse. It says, "Who is wise and understanding among you? Let them show it by their good life, by deeds done in the humility that comes from wisdom. But if you harbor bitter envy and selfish ambition in your hearts, do not boast about it or deny the truth." Now, don't get me wrong, I'm a sucker for celebrities, celebrity drama, my favorite influencers, and TV, and taking pictures for social media and such. But what James is saying here, that we have to look at our social circle and look at the people that we follow and our influencers and look at their actions, and are they done by spiritual wisdom or are they completed by worldly wisdom? And it becomes an issue when we are letting the celebrities and the influencers lead us and dictate our lives. So with this being said, yes, I'm not afraid to be honest. I was letting my worldly culture dictate my life for a long, long time. This meant me having designer clothes, designer shoes, long as weave, long as nails, short outfits, more than 200 likes on social media and views and Snapchat, all for the wrong reasons. When you read verse 15 and 16, it says, verse 14, it says, "But if you harbor bitter envy and selfish ambition in your hearts, do not boast about it or deny the truth. Such wisdom does not come down from heaven, but is earthly, unspiritual, demonic. For where you have envy and selfish ambition, there you find disorder and every evil practice." Now, I wasn't posting on social media for motivational things or helping with others. No, it was just for my own selfish needs and for my selfish pleasure of attention. I wasn't budgeting my money, using it for important things that actually benefited me, only what I thought would benefit my emotions right then and there. Verse 16, "For where you have envy and selfish ambition, there you find disorder and evil practice." In the midst of trials, sometimes we deal with these impulsive behaviors or this feeling of longing for someone else's lifestyle, or let's say happiness or materialistic aspects, because it looks better or seems better than what we have right now. And we think that it'll set us free from this feeling that you feel right there. In the midst, we certainly do not need any more worldly wisdom, but only spiritual wisdom. Spiritual wisdom will get us through the trials by preparing us for a glorious breakthrough. Let's go back and touch up more on spiritual wisdom. Verse 17, but the wisdom that comes from heaven is first of all pure, then peace-loving, considerate, submissive, full of mercy and good fruit, impartial and sincere. Now, when I was first reading this, I was actually doing a plan on the Holy Bible app, and Romans 12 popped up, and I was like, this is the best, a different type of verse that really explains this worldly wisdom. So if you want, you can turn to Romans 12 with me. I'm just going to read 2 verses from that. Verse 2. Romans 12, it says, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good and pleasing perfect will. With this being said, it's basically saying, do not conform to this worldly wisdom, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Be transformed by this spiritual wisdom coming in your mind, and don't let the worldly wisdom dictate your life. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good and pleasing and perfect will. After you decipher this worldly wisdom and this spiritual wisdom, you will be able to hear God more, you will be able to communicate to you, and once you open your hearts more to him and let him in, then you will find out your purpose and find out his will and let him use you. So the question is now, after determining the major differences between spiritual wisdom and worldly wisdom, how can we hear God, and how can we get closer to him? How do we know when God is talking to me? If this is the spiritual wisdom directing me, or is this worldly wisdom? So I'm just going to share different points that help me along my journey. First, when God speaks to us, he gives us complete sentences and complete thoughts. When we decide to let God in our hearts and mind, we will be able to hear him correctly. Now, I mentioned this worldly detox, and that's for real. See, I didn't want to say fast, because after fasting, you can come back and do things after what you need to do. After what you need to do is done. For a detox, it means permanently getting rid of the toxicness and impurities out of your bodies. In the worldly case, to lose weight, but in this case, permanently remove them from our soul. I'm not saying to cut out social media completely forever, because I get it. Me being young, posting pictures for my young people, it's such an exciting feeling, and letting others see this creative side of us, and it's fun, yes, I know. But I'm saying to step away and look at ourselves and the reasons why we're posting these things is the start of a detox. For me, though, I completely had to cut out Instagram and Snapchat, because for me it was so easy to compare my life and get caught up in having these earthly things. Now, some of y'all might be saying, I'm fine the way I am, how could you let something so small direct her? But I was the same way. For me, it was being stuck in this mold where I was deeply tied in and normalizing these cultural aspects. I too thought that I was fine, until I did my worldly detox, until I finally started praying more. I started reading the Bible, which is gaining your spiritual wisdom, until I started removing toxic people from my life that had nothing but worldly wisdom to say, gossiping, and no spiritual faith. They didn't have anything spiritual. That is the worldly wisdom. Until I started removing my daily rap music, my favorite rappers, favorite entertainers, and which it is worldly wisdom. And sad to say, sad to shock to my young people, Your favorite rappers and entertainers don't care about your well-being or the influence that they bring on our culture. Only the green paper and if they're the next big trending topic. So once I started to realize these things and I started removing these things, it was like God was talking to me and he wouldn't stop talking to me. It was like I could finally hear him and finally communicate to him, and it was amazing. Can you imagine what this world would look like with more spiritual wisdom? If our leaders down here had more spiritual wisdom than worldly wisdom, and less worldly matters, it will be like a heaven on earth. And no, of course this can't happen overnight. It will be hard the first couple of days, the first couple of weeks, just like a normal detox or a normal diet. But after these few weeks, and after you get through those first couple humps and the tug of war feeling with the worldly wisdom and the spiritual wisdom, you'll be in the home stretch. And your spirituality and your mental will start to change just like that. You'll be able to start hearing God more. Your connection will be stronger. Nothing or nobody will tell you anything because you know your connection is strong with God and you know that He's here with you. You will see the blessings pour down expeditiously. Your faith will be stronger. It will feel like God is holding your hand, walking through this lifetime. And you will always feel His presence once you let Him in and open up your heart and remove all this worldly wisdom. I'm telling you, this worldly detox is no joke. The results are impeccable. Your mental process will be so different, filled with so much more love and forgiveness and sincere thoughts and actions, more for a spiritual cause than for earthly reasons. And instead of the selfish ambition and evilness. So, these other few points that I'm going to mention with chapter 5 that I read earlier, I just want to mention a theme that's near and dear to my heart, patience. And if you watched my recharge a couple weeks back, patience was my theme, and I advise you guys to go watch all the recharges that come on Thursday at 6 o'clock. They're amazing. They're so encouraging. I go and watch the old ones when I'm feeling down, and they just always boost me up. But having patience in the midst of trials and suffering is so important. As I read briefly in chapter 5, which I'll read again, it was James chapter 5, verses 7 to 12. Be patient, then, brothers and sisters, until the Lord's coming. See how the farmer waits for the land to yield its valuable crop, patiently waiting for the autumn and spring rains. You too, be patient and stand firm, because the Lord's coming is near. Don't grumble against one another, brothers and sisters, or you will be judged. The judge is standing at the door. Brothers and sisters, as an example of patience in the face of suffering, take the prophets who spoke in the name of the Lord. As you know, we count as blessed those who have persevered. You have heard of Job's perseverance and have seen what the Lord finally brought about. The Lord is full of compassion and mercy. Above all, my brothers and sisters, do not swear, not by heaven or by earth or by anything else. All you need to say is a simple yes or no. Otherwise, you will be condemned. Hearing God and deciphering between the two takes dedication, confidence, strength, and most of all, patience. Communication with God and hearing Him doesn't just happen overnight. Does weight loss and commanding a healthy lifestyle happen overnight? No, of course not. It's going to feel like a huge tug of war, like I mentioned earlier in the beginning, but that's how you know God is working in the inside. That's how you know, and that's when you say, keep pushing. That's when I say, keep pushing and keep striving, so you can fully and know and understand who and what is the spiritual and the worldly wisdom. Now, with the patience from this lesson, you should know that as I read verses 10, it says, brothers and sisters, as an example of patience in the face of suffering, take the prophets who spoke in the name of the Lord. Right here it's saying that we should remember these prophets like Job and Jeremiah and others and admire their willpower and their patience and obedience that they had in these hard times. See how the farmer waits for the land to yield its valuable crop, patiently waiting for the autumn and spring rains. You too be patient and stand firm, because the Lord's coming is near. We should be preparing ourselves daily for the Lord's coming. And we should also be like these farmers in this case, and waiting for our latter rain, and patiently waiting for our valuable crop, but patiently waiting to hear God, and patiently waiting for Him to communicate us effectively. From this lesson, you should and will already know the biggest distinguishing factors from spiritual wisdom and worldly wisdom. This is already a step closer in the direction of God. I encourage you to take this knowledge from today and use it. Ask God to give you the strength to get through a worldly detox, and to have Him show you and listen to Him better. And I encourage you to ask God to remove the toxicness from your life and allow spiritual wisdom to lead you instead of the worldly wisdom. As I start to close, I want to just advise that this worldly detox is no walk in the park. Like I mentioned earlier, you need patience and suffering. There are going to be days where the spiritual wisdom is too much to handle. This is where I strongly encourage you to first thank God for this beautiful wisdom that you're receiving, and to ask and to help distinguish what is Him and what is not. Sometimes the wisdom won't be as clear the first couple times. One, because we are so filled with this worldly wisdom more than ever. This tug of war will be a hard process, but you have to remember and look out to the future, knowing the results and knowing that your mental state will be so much more happier than you were weeks and months ago, filled with the worldly wisdom. Pray for the patience to get you through your suffering and trials. Pray for the strength to handle letting go of the toxicness. Pray for the courage to know that it'll be hard now, but in the long run, it'll be so much worth it. With these few directions, you will be unrecognizable. Keep fighting through this worldly detox and worldly wisdom. In order to fully allow God in your heart, keep praying, pushing, and studying the Bible. This will help you be able to face and decipher what is the spiritual wisdom and the worldly wisdom. And once you do this, you will be a step closer to receiving God, and a step closer to opening your heart and letting Him in there, and your connection with Him will be so much stronger than it was weeks ago with this worldly detox. So, thank you.